share it out, this actual feed right now, share it to everybody as well. In fact, I'm going to do that before I forget. So give me just a second. Just make sure everybody's jumping on. Let me share this out real quick. Neuse is, I just got a notification. Neuse is live now. All right. I know. We're good. We're good. Okay. So basically what we were saying, Superintendent, is when we got cut off, and sorry about that, folks. Hey, look, thinking about that, go ahead, if you don't mind, share this broadcast, because some people, we got cut off there, and some people don't know that. Just go, if you don't mind, drop a note, ask a question if you got one. Share the broadcast. If you know somebody who might want to hear this information from the chairwoman of our Lenoir County Commissioners, Linda Rouse Sutton, and the superintendent of Lenoir County Public Schools, Mr. Brent Williams. So if you don't mind, share this broadcast, drop a note, and we certainly appreciate y'all sticking with us through that technical difficulty. But Superintendent, we were just talking about and how much we appreciate what your staff has gone through, because we know you don't take the decision lightly. Linda, served both on your school board at one point in your history, and now as chair of the Lenoir County Commissioners. The decisions to close schools or declare emergencies are decisions that not taken lightly. And you were just telling us it even directly impacts your family and where the kids are and those sorts of things. So this has a trickle effect throughout the entire economy and with our families. Linda, you got a commissioner meeting this afternoon. What are you kind of expecting to hear from your emergency management team and health department?
We'll hear an update from them currently, unless something changes between now and then.
That's true.
We do not have any cases in Lenoir County, as far as we know right now. EMS and health department are working together very closely. If you think that you may have it, of course, call your physician and those kinds of things. And just reiterating all the safety measures that we need to take and just staying on top of it. As Superintendent Williams said, we've been in contact with state officials, like he says, conference calls, and working together with them. And I think the main thing is just letting people know, as I said a while ago, don't panic. And it's only natural to have a certain amount of fear. We know that we have people walking around, probably in our county, that have it. Mm-hmm. But when discovered, some of them probably have had it and are okay now. The odds of, coming out of it's like having the flu or something. You're going to be all right. Mm-hmm. It takes a little time, but you're going to be all right. But the thing that we're trying to emphasize to people is that we want to flatten the curve, as everybody's saying, is the catchphrase. In other words, instead of everybody having it at one time, which if you move a lot and you have a lot of contact with people and you're in close proximity, everybody gets it at one time. And then all of a sudden, your hospitals, your medical staff, your pharmacies are just overwhelmed. Right. And you don't have the facilities or you don't have the staff that you need in order to treat everybody as they should be. So it's just precautionary means to let our folks know that, what to do and that we are okay. And I've been very pleased at the way our county, our citizens have listened. And, that's not been the case everywhere, but we're real thankful for our citizens that they're listening and that neighbors helping neighbors. And I've been so glad and excited to see where churches and different people are reaching out to the school system. How can we help? Can we give money? Can we donate food for to give to the children, as well as, I'm young, I'm out of school, I have experience, can I help keep your child, and that kind of thing. And then, of course, we're enacting the adverse weather policy with our employees because we know we have a lot of employees who have children, and we'll be working with them to see, how we can help because that really is a bad situation for folks. I've been there and done that too, when, as you know, right. And you're affected. And
there are some essential services that you always have to have running.
Yes, we will be open so far as as of right now. Everything will continue on as has been. Now in the courthouse, the courts were closed, but that is not under our jurisdiction. That's done from the court system.
That's right.
And so, like I said, we have no say-so. But right now, we're staying open and trying to keep things at a minimum and trying to be as preventive and just making sure that everybody is aware that it's serious, but it's not something to panic about.
That's right. Now we News reported earlier that Kansas City Hall has closed to the public, but Kansas City Hall is a little bit different than the county government in that people actually walk inside to pay their bills and things. So they're
That's
allowing
right.
the drive-through to be open, but City Hall itself is actually closed. And they also have a meeting this afternoon. And Mr. Williams, I know there's been some questions. I mean, certainly some of this is too challenging to answer right now, but it's at least I know it's the thought is in your purview of thinking through how this is going to work. But spring break is a month from now, and in fact, we were going to have an elective surgery for my daughter, tonsillectomy during that time, and now we're going, okay, our elective surgeries are even going to happen then? And so we're going to have to make some adjustments there. But as it pertains to the school and the staff right now, kids are out of school through the 27th. You've got some optional teacher work days about to happen. What do you foresee over the next couple of weeks as you listen to the governor's office?
Okay, BJ, what we've done is to embrace the governor's guidance on this, and the initial take on it is 2 weeks. And we've been looking at it in terms of 2 weeks in terms of the school system schedule. Everything that was planned for the next 2 weeks, we've either rescheduled or canceled. The High School Athletic Association, through the first week of April, canceled all athletics practices.
That was tough to see.
Right, and other events. It's completely unprecedented with the ACC tournament. That's not high school athletics, but on the college stage and March Madness as well. So it's really in the round, all of these things. It's community-wide, local community, statewide community, national community, and worldwide community as well. So what we've done is look at it from an initial lens of the first 2 weeks. And then beyond that, we're currently looking at and talking with our principals and our teachers and other staff members about events after that, events later in April and May, and looking at them. But certainly we think it would be too early to cancel things completely or to say anything definitive unless we know at this point, and we don't. So
Right.
we're still looking at those early April events and trying to make some decisions based on those, on the best available information we have now. But like we said earlier, and like Linda was saying, that information is so rapidly changing. It's hard to really make too many definitive decisions on that.
Yeah, I know, because I think we shared earlier that even some of the proms are going to get interrupted.
Right.
And I know the CDC came out and said that with their guidance, at least, is the next 8 weeks to limit groups of 50 or less than 50, which seems to me that as I'll kind of walk that through, how that's going to trickle down in our government and our institutions, is that would actually ultimately have an impact on the school systems itself.
Absolutely. And based on that, we've already taken some what we feel to be proactive measures in actions and rescheduling those things that we could within that general window.
Right.
It's pretty academic about the current 2 week cycle that was announced on Saturday. But beyond that, in say an 8 to 10 weeks view ahead, we've been looking at things in terms of in question status, but not completely canceled now. We want to be really careful before we cancel things that have been
Agree.
planned all year, but at the same time, certainly we want to be responsible and to be as proactive as we can and get information out to parents and students and other stakeholders.
And Lenoir County's public schools is very fortunate in that you've had this partnership with the iPads over the last few years. Talk to us a little bit about how you're using those devices at home, and for kids who don't have internet, how you're helping those kids as well.
We're very proud of where we are with digital learning. Lenoir County has been recognized by the state as being one of the 2 leading regions in the southeast, leading school districts in the southeast region of North Carolina for digital learning. We've worked really hard on that. Our teachers deserve all the credit with that, and our principals and other staff members who work to really build that capacity with not only having devices in the the hands of kids. That does nothing by itself, but really to use those devices to support the teaching and learning process. And we feel good about that. We did have some of the iPads that were at school and not actually issued at this point, or they were in transition between kids had left them at school, and all different types of situations. So we did provide an opportunity today from 2 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. for parents to go to the school and to retrieve items. My son's jacket was in his locker at school.
Right.
You know, those micro issues, to go to school and get personal items of kids and books, and also the iPads. And also we provided an opportunity, and Ms. Herring's here, who directs our instructional team, and we provided an opportunity for parents to go in and check out books. And each child should leave today, each student should leave today with an iPad, but also with a packet of work. And we are providing that two ways: in traditional print version form and on the iPad in case kids don't have internet access at home. So.
And we had the opportunity to have Dr. Hunt with Lenore Community College yesterday, and he's in a different position when it comes to the digital learning, because you're talking 18 and up through continuing ed versus you got 4 or 5-year-olds
Right.
in your system.
Right.
But also Senator Perry was here, and I asked him, I said, being a legislator, naturally there's going to be some conversations about legislation as it pertains. And he said, true, that's politicians, that's what we do, but that now's not the time for that. Now's the
Right.
time to
Right.
fix this issue, and then we'll worry about that. Because my head is going probably where y'all have already started thinking, how does this impact the calendar? How does this impact the teacher work days or the time for the teachers and staff, and certainly with your budget and with the state government as well. So it's interesting. I'm as somebody who follows politics and policy, I'm looking forward to seeing how that's handled from a governmental level, and especially how our local legislators are involved in that conversation. But I also agree with Senator Perry that it really is too early for some of those conversations.
I agree with Senator Perry as well. There's a lot there, and you listed the items of concern and a full range of them to be considered and worked through. But at this early point, we're just I think we're all trusting each other and knowing that right now our higher mission and our first purpose ought to be getting through this together, and we've committed to doing that as a community. And this community's resilience and determined spirit of cooperation and collaboration has always been impressive to me and uplifting, and I think
Right.
we'll see that in what we do. I want the parents and other stakeholders to know that there's no substitute for good old-fashioned teaching and learning for that teacher in the classroom. The iPads won't completely replace that. In fact, they won't replace it at all. But they do provide an avenue of learning, a set of opportunities for learning to happen at home that otherwise would not happen and that are not possible in some other districts. So we are proud to be able to provide that for our students and to be able to interact to some degree with most of them on the iPads.
And from a market standpoint, let's just be kind of blunt about it, is that this is the market. This is the future of our economy.
Right.
The fact that Lenore County Public Schools has embraced this technology, in my opinion, is spot on, because look, I'm in the news business, and I put out a daily newsletter, and I have zero paper, zero ink,
Right.
and it's completely digital. Over 80% of the people who are probably watching this right now are doing it on their cell phone. And I gave a talk to some downtown managers last week in New Bern. It was the last convention we'll probably talk to in a while. But I was telling them, besides the fact of being proactive with your information, because you want to be proactive with accurate information, not reactive to negative or inaccurate information, but also that this device this is something that people go to sleep looking at and they wake up looking at. That we're so hooked on these things, you've got to understand that this is a great tool. So I appreciate both of y'all being here.
And
today.
while you're on that subject, I think it's important to point out is that when you do see information, make sure that it comes from a reputable source.
Right.
Because there are some things that are put on that, people are hearsay or whatever. So
Right.
that's the only caution I would have. But folks do want to know now. They want to know it immediately. So
And BJ, one of the big concerns that people have is about child nutrition
Correct.
and about kids being able to get nutritious meals during a school closure cycle. And we have made provisions for that. So starting tomorrow, we will have remote feeding sites, and we're announcing that information publicly today and to
Can
parents.
we make what he's saying right now? Can we type in the comments below? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're making that information available today about remote feeding sites, as we do on a smaller scale in the summertime anyway, during
That's right.
during summer break. But we're expanding that and doing that throughout the county so that our students, all of our students, will have access if needed to nutritious meals provided by our school cafeteria staff. And we'll do that as long as we can. If there's a full shutdown and we're not allowed to enter any of the school buildings, obviously we couldn't do it. But so far, the state government has given its approval for that, and we'll do that as long as we can starting tomorrow.
And I've, something that I have not heard talked about a lot, and that is an important piece because I know I've seen some people talk about that already. But one thing I have not heard a lot talked about yet is the mental health of our kids.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
the idea that I remember serving as mayor during Irene, and day one without power, so that's no big deal. The ice is in the fridge, we're good. The freezer. Day two, hey, I was lucky enough to have a generator. I'm cool. But day three, it just people just kind of went. They were stir crazy.
Right.
And today is really day one of being out of school. Y'all are still hustling and bustling. Tomorrow, people are going to go, okay, well, we got to get some normal. Day three, it's going to kind of settle in that this is reality.
Right.
But this is only at least for the next 2 weeks. It could be longer. So I'm curious, has there been any discussion at the county level or even at school level about mental health when it comes to these kids, these families?
I've not heard anywhere yet, but you bring up a very important factor because that's another reason why we as adults need to make sure that we don't instill a thought of fear in our children.
Right.
Because to them, it means a whole lot more than it does to us as an adult. So I would caution people because of that. We are really short on mental health services, and that's a problem that we have now. But I feel sure that is something that the governor's office will be addressing in the near future too. And regarding talking about legislation, it's sort of like the hurricanes too. We got to go through it to see what really does need to be addressed and stuff. So you're right on that. I think it's going to be a period of time, but there will be some things that need to be addressed.
BJ, we have talked about that quite a bit. It's one of our daily concerns, one of our central and essential concerns that really exists at the forefront for us every day now is the mental health of our students and the social, emotional well-being of our kids. Certainly in a crisis situation like this, comes to the fore as a primary concern. So we have talked about that with our administrative team, with our principals, and talked about a plan for, just as we're making child nutrition available to them in the way of meals during this, seeing how we can make our social workers and our school counselors and the counseling services that they could provide available to our kids.
Yeah, because a kid is going to think, I'm out of school. Why can't I go to the movies? Why can't I go to the park?
Right.
So there's a lot of questions that, when they ask, it's really going to
And I
stir
think
up
you're
some
right.
emotion in them.
Absolutely. I think you're right, BJ. There's a cumulative impact of crisis too. We saw that during Hurricane Floyd with the extended period of being out of school over 2 weeks, and it certainly does build up, and it has a weight on a community. So we've been talking about that a lot and planning for ways that we could maybe try to be innovative within constraints and get those counseling services available to kids.
I want to ask y'all kind of your final thoughts about a couple of things I want to do, and I want to get you to talk about the 911 protocol if you have any information on that in just a second, because I want to mention one thing that there is a Senator Perry left me yesterday that from Secretary Cohen with North Carolina Health. That there is a COVID-19 hotline. I think we've been running it in the ticker below, but the COVID-19 hotline is 866-462-3821. If we can tag that in the comments below as well, team. It's the COVID-19 hotline is 866-462-3821. 651. If you have any questions about it, it's impacting your community. If you have a question about your own health or health of someone else, please don't hesitate to call that number. There is a team working for that. You were talking about the negative impact, the potential impact. This morning, I was listening. I like to listen to an Alexa flash briefing every morning, and I've got 4 or 5 sources that I listen to daily. And I was listening to this morning, my oldest daughter, Grace, and she loves news and politics and business. She says she's going to be the CEO here one day. And, of course, I like that. But, we were listening to it today, and I had to stop it. I had to say, Alexa, pause. And I said, Grace, I want you to understand something, that news inherently is negative. It is typically something bad happening to somebody. But we listen to the news so that we can understand what's going on. I said, I think that the trick here is not to let this get under your skin, not to let it to affect your psyche, but you have to understand what's happening so you can learn to adapt and innovate. And so actually we stopped the news at that point because I thought she had heard enough. But because if you listen to the news, every half hour it is drastically changing. And I had to take a moment as a dad and say, this is reality for a little bit,
enough for right now.
And what we're doing as a family is what's right for us. And the sun is still out, and it's going to be out tomorrow, and everything's going to be okay. So that was a challenge. But when thinking about 911, I know that there's been some changes. We're actually working on a story. I haven't seen it just yet, but I know there's been some changes when you call 911, how they're responding to you out of concern for everybody's. Because we also got to be just concerned about emergency services personnel as well.
Yes. As always, they have to be adaptable to the situation. And so when folks are calling on in, they're listening very carefully and relaying them to the necessary resource that they need to go to. And like I said, they're sort of scrutinizing each call individually because in this day and time, some folks get real upset and look at different avenues than the average person does. So we got to be aware of those folks.
Right.
And we don't know, so many people are going through so many challenging times in their life. So, this one thing might be something that throws them over the edge. So we've got to be aware of our surroundings and of our fellow citizens and, just make sure that we try to be as positive as we can. We're trying to make sure that we spread facts, not fear. And we are readily accessible on our website as well as on Facebook, our health department, our EMS, as well as county government. So, and feel free to contact us at any point in time. All of your commissioners' numbers are on the website. And
That's right.
if you got concerns, call us because that's what we're here for. And so we just want to make sure that our folks know that we're on top of it, we're handling it, and we need to be concerned. But, like you said, the sun's going to come out tomorrow. And this is just, I know the steps that are being taken are scary in an effect because you and I and everybody else has never faced this before. But it's to be precautionary, to make sure that we can, as we said, keep that curve as flat as it can be so that the damage will be minimal. So
That's right.
Just everybody be, cautious and do, what you feel like you need to do as superintendent said for your family and talk about it. Talk about it with your children because they really, they need to know. They need to, as you said, they need to hear some positive things or know that things are under control versus,
right.
oh, the sky is falling.
That's right.
So that's
right.
a good point.
No, that's good. And Superintendent, any parting words you want to make sure that we communicate with the folks listening and watching now?
Absolutely. Well, as Linda said, we have shared information on our website. We've built a space on our school system website and individual websites for the schools with as much information as we have right now from the CDC and other places. And I know a lot of people see that information, but just the redundancy of sharing to provide that for folks. But I want to say to our parents and other community members that I believe without question that our young people are our greatest blessing as a community. And that's our foremost concern, protecting them. And as superintendent of Lenoir County Public Schools, I don't ever forget that our parents, and I don't take it for granted, that our parents have entrusted us with their children every day. And that's a role that we take very seriously, and my team and I will always err on the side of caution if we have any flexibility whatsoever in our decision making, we certainly will err on the side of caution for the benefit of these young people that we're so richly blessed to serve
Right.
every single time. And so we're going to get through this together as a community. I want to thank the parents and other stakeholders for their continued support as we work through it together. And as we come through it, and we'll all be better and stronger and enriched for the experience of having gone through this crisis together. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can, I'd like to add, first of all, my hat's off to the school system. Having served on the school board, I know what all is involved in this last minute, and it's a lot. People have no idea, and I know how your management team worked through the weekend, and it is greatly appreciated, and I know that you've got absolute best interests of the children. I'd like to say a big thank you, as I said before, to our citizens for not panicking and getting the facts and the information, and particularly, as always, to our EMS, and especially to Ms. Brown at our health department. This is one of those incidents that instead of the emphasis being on the emergency management department, it's on the health department.
Right.
So all of a sudden, everybody's looking at her. So I appreciate them, as well as our manager, who has really been working day and night also, along with EMS and our Board of Health. And I want to thank Senator Jim Perry. He's been in constant contact with me, and I know if we need some resources or whatever, he has assured us that he is there and he's a call away. And I appreciate that, knowing that we've got that link to the legislature and, to state office, because it means a lot. It means a lot for our citizens.
Right.
So.
Now, BJ, in addition to the print version resources that we're sending out with the students, in addition to the iPad-based resources and learning opportunities, we also are setting up a call-in line, and we should have that up and running in the next 24 hours. And we'll put that information out to parents so they can call in, and as long as and who knows what's going to happen with our ability to staff that, but an information line to direct parents and students to resources and so that they don't get stuck in the process of trying to work with these activities at home. That nothing there will be for a grade, and they won't be penalized for anything that they do or don't do. We want to stress that to parents, but these are opportunities to just help. It's enhancement for students.
Right.
So we thank them for being in it with us, and we're right there to partner with them every step of the way.
And thank you, BJ, for you and your staff, because
Absolutely.
you stay on top of it. I know yesterday you had a good session, and getting the news out there as fast as we can is very important, and we appreciate how you're doing that.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate it. One thing I'm really careful about is we want to get out accurate information fast.
Right.
And so if it takes us an extra minute to get it, that's fine. But I want it to be right. And so that's why we follow your two organizations very closely, because we know people are looking to you for guidance. And we just want to make sure people get the information out there so they can make the best decisions for their families and their businesses as well, which is something we haven't gotten into, but we'll start talking about that here soon. But thank you, Superintendent. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And I just want to say again, thank you all so much for watching today. If you don't mind, like and share this so that you can share it with somebody else who can get this information. I appreciate the valuable information we got from our two representatives here today. You've seen the hotline as we've tagged on there. You've also seen our social media handles as well on the ticker below. Be sure to follow us. Subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. This morning and yesterday's morning's newsletter was chock full of information related to all the changing updates that we put out here at newsnews.com. So just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Dr. Travis Town in the background and Aletha Thrower way in the back, our VP of Operations here as well. So y'all have a great day. Stay safe and take care.